Hello everyone. Thanks for joining today's SQL Server session. In today's session, we will look at what is SQL Server is all about and what is database management system, and why it is called as a relational database management system. Followed by this, we will see how to install SQL Server and SQL Server Management Studio. SQL Server Management Studio is a graphical user interface using which we can write SQL queries, SQL queries, and also we can create a database, create tables, and other database related objects in a simple way. Now, let us first start with understanding what exactly SQL Server is all about. SQL Server, one second, just give me a second. Other guys got stuck up. Sorry guys, since other guys got stuck up, I'll have to pause. So we will first understand what exactly SQL Server. SQL Server is a Microsoft product. I don't have to tell you guys, it's a Microsoft product, SQL Server. It is a relational database management system. As you all aware, the under RDBMS, in the case of RDBMS, different vendors, they have their own version of databases like softwares, RDBMS softwares like Oracle, Sybase, MySQL, like varieties of RDBMS softwares are available. Microsoft SQL Server is also one of the popular relational database management system. There are a few different editions of SQL Server softwares are available. The Express and Developer editions are available for free download. So these two are available for free download, and then we have Standard and Enterprise editions are available. These two are licensed one. The medium-sized companies, they prefer a Standard edition, and larger enterprises, because of scalability and for other reasons, they wanted to use Enterprise edition. They want to use the Enterprise edition. It is a licensed one. To learn Microsoft SQL Server or to write SQL queries, for that purpose, if you download Express or Developer, that is more than sufficient. A free license is more than sufficient for learning purpose. And now we will see what is DBMS. Before we proceed with creating the tables or database, let's start understanding what is database management system. Database management system is a software. It allows us to access the database. Supposing you have the database. Let's say you have the database. You want to, so you are writing, for example, you store the data. So in the case of database management system, it helps us the users to store the data. And also later point in time, if they want to retrieve the data, and if they want to do some kind of data analysis, they can write SQL queries to retrieve the data. And also if they wanted to insert the data, if they wanted to update or delete the data, they can do it using database management system. So why database management system is required? Supposing, let's say customer has given you a data file. This is your operating system. You copy let's say you downloaded the data file given by the customer in your operating system. Let's say you are Windows operating system, you downloaded the file and you stored that file in a folder. Let's see if somebody is having access to your laptop or in your system, right? They should be able to view the content of the file. Okay, and when it comes to DBMS, you are installing the RDBMS software on top of your operating system. In our case, let's say you are installing Microsoft SQL Server. Instead of storing the file on your operating system, you are storing the file inside your database. When you store the data inside the database, even if people have access to your laptop or your system, they will not be able to see the content of your file. So it allows the users to securely access the data in DBMS system. Okay, and Some of the most popular DBMS softwares are like, as I told you earlier, Sybase, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, so on and so forth. There are two types of database management systems are available: the relational, and the other one is non-relational database. So the relational database, as I told you, the Microsoft, the example for relational database, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, so on and so forth. So what is non-relational databases? Some of the, okay, there are four non-relational database systems are there. One is document data store. I guess most of you are aware of this, right? A document data store. And other one is the column oriented database. Document data store, column oriented store database, and then you have key value store, and the fourth one is graph database. These are the four different non-relational databases are available. The example for document data store is MongoDB. Most of you are already familiar with MongoDB. MongoDB is one of the document data store. In this case, right, the JSON file. The other example for document data store is JSON file, XML, right? These are the data files that will be stored in MongoDB. And the Cassandra, you have something called Cassandra, Apache Cassandra, and Apache HBase. These are the classic examples for the NoSQL database. And Apache HBase is the column oriented database. Instead of storing the data in the row wise, they store the data in column, where in the case of NoSQL database. So when it comes to NoSQL database, you don't have to create the relationship between the tables. Okay, as far as NoSQL database is concerned, if you perform joins to more tables, it will have an impact on your performance. It will slow down your performance. You cannot retrieve the data in a much faster way, especially nowadays we are dealing with petabytes and above volume of the data. So in that case, NoSQL database is very much handy. Okay, so that's why customers, they go for NoSQL database. Now the question is, hey, why should I know about NoSQL database, all these things? I'm going to work on Power BI. Power BI is not isolated one, okay, because when you use Power BI, you'll have to work with the combination of relational as well as the non-relational database. Who knows? Let's say if you get into a project, we have something called Impala, right? Impala is another NoSQL database currently in our company, right? So we are using Impala. So Impala has the source system to get the data using Power BI. So using Power BI are connecting to Impala and we are extracting the data. So it depends on the project, depends on the customer, depends on the use case. They use different types of database, whether relational, non-relational, right? It depends on the project, depends on the use cases. At least if you are aware of it, it will be good. So the more you know, the better you can manage the situation. So next we will see what is relational database. So far I discussed about database management system, DBMS. What is relational database? In the case of relational database, the data is stored in tables that are linked together via relationship. Look here, these two tables are linked together via the relationship. There exists a relationship between these two tables. So we have an employee table and I have a department table. Okay, in this case, if I wanted to generate a report which should show the employee name and the salary of each employee plus each employee's department name should also be printed. Okay, in that case, the data are available in two different tables. The department name is not available here, right? So how do you get the department name as part of this table. Is it possible to get these? For example, I need the employee name, salary and department name. All these three column needs to be, the values in these three column needs to be shown in my report. So how do I do that? How do it? So simple common senses. If I ask you, even if you don't have any RDBMS background, if I ask you to look at this table and tell me which department John belongs to, can you tell me the department name of John? So what you will do is you will just look at the columns that are available in this table. When you see the department number, here you say, hey, he belongs to department number 10. But again, I asked him to tell me the department name where John belongs to. I don't need the department number, you tell me the department name. So what we will do is, we just look at the other table. So here we have a column called department number. So in this department number column, in this table, we could see the department number 10, right? So the matching column between these two tables are department number, and the matching values are 10, 10. Hence the corresponding value for this department number is, for the corresponding value of the department number is the accounts department. You got it? So in this case, how did we retrieve the department name? By looking at the matching column between these two tables. We have to join these two tables based on the common column between these two tables in order to retrieve the data from both the tables. You can perform inner join, you can perform left outer join, you can based on your use case or requirement, you can use the different types of joins. So now you understood what is relational database. In the case of relational database, the tables are linked together via the relationship. These two tables are linked via the department number, because the department number is the common column between these two tables. The next one is SQL. Now the question is, what is SQL? So why should I learn SQL? The SQL stands for Structured Query Language, which is a language used in almost all the RDBMS softwares. So once you store the data, using the SQL we can retrieve the data, or we can fetch the data, and also we can manipulate the data. So what do you mean by manipulating the data? You can modify the data, you can delete the records, subset of the data, you can remove it. If you want to remove set of records, or if you want to modify set of records, you can do it. So that is what manipulating the data. So using SQL, you can communicate to the database. Let's say you have the database here. Let's say you have the database here. And you have an SQL here, right? Using SQL, you can communicate to the database. Supposing, let's say I sell hundreds of products. I stored all those products in my database. I wanted to see all the products, whatever I sell it, has been correctly stored in this database or not. How do I see that? Select star from products table. So using this SQL statement, I'm able to communicate to the database. So this SQL statement sends a request to this database engine to retrieve the records from this entire table. Star means retrieve all the data from the products table. Fine. So now what we will do is, we will go ahead and install Microsoft SQL Server. How many of you have installed Microsoft SQL Server? So since I have a few new joiners, I'll just quickly walk you through the steps of how to install the Microsoft SQL Server. It's pretty simple. One second, I'll just go here, and you can go to the Google. You can probably start download it now if you have not yet done. Just type download SQL Server. So you can find the SQL Server downloads link here. When you click on it, okay, I'm not going to take up this survey now. It will take you to their site wherein you can download the software here. So here you have SQL Server on premises. You just need to scroll down here. Either you can download developer edition, or you can download express edition. As you can see here, it is a free edition. It's available for free download. You just click on download now. It will take some time to download. See, now it got downloaded. It got downloaded much faster. Now you can go to this folder and double click on this one. If you click on this, it will open the dialog window. You can use basic. You have custom, and different options are available. You have basic, custom. When you select this option, you can choose the required components that you need to install it as part of this. But in my case, what I do is I just click. You can click basic and click accept. When you click accept, it will ask you the installation folder. The next step is you just click install it. That's it. It will take for a while. So installation will take for a while. Okay, you need to have patience. Look here. So you will find the progression bar. Since in my case I've already installed it, I don't want to install it again. If you have not yet installed, and if you are doing the installation now, you can find something like this. Okay, after installation, right, when you click basic, you will find the installation progression bar. After a few seconds, after a few minutes, right, you will find something like this: installation is completed successfully. Okay, so the next one is you need to install SQL Server Management Studio. This is the graphical user interface. It's a pretty easier to work on this graphical user interface. So what you do is just go to the Google and again type it here. SQL Server Management Studio. Look here, you can go here, scroll down, you can find the free download for the SSMS. Now I'm going to initialize the download. It will take for a while to download it. In your case, make sure that the SQL Server got installed successfully, and then you need to install SQL Server Management Studio. Don't do it in parallel, okay? So do it one after another. It is always a good practice. First install the server and then install but you can initialize the download for both the SQL Server Express download and the SSMS in parallel, but don't install it together. Install it one after another. In my case, I already installed Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. It will take for a while, but the SQL Server Express edition got downloaded in a pretty faster way. This one will take for a while. Let's wait for some time. It successfully. Once the download has been done, so now what you do is you just go to the folder and double click on it. Wait for some time. It will launch the installation dialog window. So I'm going to close this because my system memory got exhausted. See, once the SQL server get installed successfully, okay, no problem, you carry on. So what you do is, right, if the installation is in progress, you just minimize the window and watch my screen here. Okay, once the installation get completed successfully, just type SQL CMD. Okay, just go to your start menu and just type here the SQL CMD. You need to type it together, don't leave space, SQL CMD, and when you click on open, so it will open something like this, and type select attached version, press enter, in the next line type go. You will find something like this. So Microsoft SQL Server 2019, and the copyright is this one. It is a 64-bit. Okay, this is the version and release of your Microsoft SQL Server 15.0 something like that. Okay, this is the release and the version. It got downloaded successfully. That's why I'm getting this message. Otherwise, I'd have got some error. First of all, it wouldn't have allowed me to. The SQL CMD wouldn't have worked. Okay. Now my installation was successful. I ensured whether my installation was successful or not. I just typed SQL CMD in the start menu, the run button, right? So it opened up the command line prompt. Here I just typed select attached version. I could see that my installation was through. So now I'm going to minimize this. So okay, so this one SSMS will take some time, and even the SQL server also will take some time. So anyhow, don't worry. Okay, if the installation is still in progress, don't worry. See, you need to press this one. You need to allow this one. So in my case, I did not do that. That's why it was taking longer time. You will get the notification whether confirmation dialog window from Microsoft, whether you want to proceed installation or something. I just pressed yes. I'll wait for this one. Let's see here. Yes, SQL Server Manager. See, in my case, I already installed it. Hence, it is it is not showing the install button here. Instead, it is showing uninstall, repair, close. I don't want to do anything. I simply click close. But for you to make sure that, or to one second, even in the case of SQL Server Management Studio, when you click install, you will find the progress bar like this. After a while, you will find setup completed message. Simply close it. Okay. The next step is I just go to the start menu. Just next to this, I can see the search button here, right? So here what I do is I'm going to launch my SQL Server Management Studio. SSMS. You need to type SSMS. Using SSMS Management Studio, I will connect to the database engine. In my case, SQL Server installed successfully. So hence, using Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, I am going to connect to my database engine. It will take for a while to launch your SQL Server Management Studio. So upon launching this, you will find this dialog box. As you can see here, the server name, the field, right? The server name is pre-filled. We don't have to enter the server name, right? Which is your system name. Desktop. This is my system name. Okay, the server name is nothing but my system name and the instance name, right? So, and in this case, the authentication by default is tied to my Windows authentication accounts. In the drop down, if you see here, various authentication, you don't have to select anything. Simply leave the default values as it is. Simply leave the default values as it is. Don't make any changes here. But if you are so curious to see this, right, what the other server type, you just select this drop down list and you can find analysis service. This is SSAS, SSRS, SSIS, Azure SSAS. Okay, but in my case, I want to connect to my database engine at this moment. I did not make any changes to this one. I just I'm okay with this. The whatever the values entered here, right? The pre-filled values, I'm fine with this. I just click on connect. Look here, it's pretty faster, isn't it? It got connected in a faster way. Now I'm going to select databases. Look here. So this is my the SSMS Server Management Studio. So on the left side of this one, you can see Object Explorer. Here, just beneath this, you can see the server name, desktop hyphen. This is my server name. And here, if you look at here, right, just followed by my server name, my username. My username is welcome in this case. Right below this, you can find databases, security, server objects, replication, polybase, high availability. So we don't have to do anything with security because it is administration part, SQL Server administration part. We don't have to do anything with security. We don't even have to create the user. Simply, if you expand this database, you can find the system databases, database snapshots, and these are the databases which I installed. This is your demo database. This demo database is related to SQL Server. We will see how to install the demo database also. Okay. When you expand the system database here, you will find 4 system databases: master, model, MSDB, TempDB. These 4 databases got created while at the time of installing the SQL Server. You don't have to create these databases. And also make sure that you are not going to delete it. First of all, you will not see any drop database, something like that. Okay, these are the system databases. It is something like that in Windows. We have something regedit, isn't it? Regedit. If you delete it, what will happen? First of all, it will not allow you to delete it, right? So there are in Windows, like in Windows, how the regedit will store all the system related information. Same way in SQL Server, it stored all the system information, these 4 different tables. These are system tables. and make sure that you are not going to create any application related tables or your own tables inside these databases, and also don't store any other data inside this database. This is meant for system databases. You are not going to use these system databases to store your application or your personal data here. Okay, just minimize it just for you to understand what these 4 databases. I just expanded this one. Okay, the next step is we will see how to create a database. Using the graphical user interface, you can create the database, or you can use the commands to create the database. For example, if I select the database here and if I right click on it, you will find new database option. Okay, and I'm going to click on it. Let's say I'm going to say supply chain. So this database is to give some meaningful name to your database. Supply chain related data, I'm going to store it. Look here, the database got created successfully. When you expand this, you'll find the database diagrams, various options, right? Various folders you can find beneath this supply chain. So all we are going to do is we are going to create tables, and also we can create views. We will see later how we can create views and all. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one more database. So here I'm going to say HR. It's a HR database. So here what I do is I just go ahead and create some tables here. Right click and new, select table here. Here you can specify the column name. For example, I'm going to create the employee table. For that, the first column name I just typed it as an employee ID, and this is the integer data type. Okay, and you can find an option like allow nulls here, and here by default it has been checked off, right? That means you can store null value in it, but if you uncheck it, unselect it, you cannot store the null values. Okay, the next line what I'm going to do is I'm going to type first name, and here nchar is a string data type. You can store the employee name is the string data type, hence I'm going to select nchar. Apart from nchar, you have something called nvarchar is also available. So these are the different data types that are available. Okay, we don't have to look at all the data types. Anyhow, we'll see what are the data types that are available in the SQL Server a little later. So I'm going to, for the time being, I'm going to select varchar 50. The first name, I'm going to specify the width of the first name as 30, and the first name should not be blank, it should have some value in it. And next one is the last name, the varchar of, let's see here, I'm going to say the last name is 30, and you can allow nulls also there. And here I say this one, the depart number. Okay, so let's say depart number, which department he belongs to. I'm going to say integer, so this one can be null. Okay, and here I'm going to say salary. Salary is a decimal value, float data type. Look here, I'm going to say, so I'm so generous, so I made it 18 here. So this is your integer and this is your decimal, so I'm going to 18.0. Okay, fine. So the salary can also be null. In the case of internship, we don't pay the salary to the employees in some companies, right? So hence I'm going to allow null here. Here also null, last name also null. So now what I do is I'm going to select close, control plus F4, and if I say yes, now it will ask you the table name. Unlike other RDBMS, once you define all the column names that are required as part of your table, right? So so at the end of it, it will ask you when you close it, it will ask you the table name. So here I say employee. The table name is employee. I just click OK here. Now the table got created. Look here. So okay, here let me just see here. Okay. So now what I do is I create a table in HR system, but I did not see the table here. Okay. What I do is I just click on the refresh here. Look here. The employee table is visible now. So as soon as you create the table, you will not be able to find it under the respective database. In my case, the database name is HR. In the HR database, I create a table by the name of employee. But you might be wondering, what is DBO.employee? DBO stands for database owner. Okay. So here by default, when you create any table, it will prefix that with DBO.employee. When you expand this one, you can see the columns. Right? You can see columns and the keys. Did we define any primary key? Did we create any constraints like check constraint, not null constraint, something like that? Okay. And okay, not null will not come under this one, and check constraint, primary key, unique constraint, those kind of things you can find it here. Triggers, we did not create or attach any trigger to this table, and also indexes, no indexes got created, and there are no statistics as of now. So this is how you can create the table in using GUI. This is how you can create the table. Okay. Script table. So you have another option. When you select the table name and when you right click on it, script table as, when you select this, on the right side you will find insert into, and select to, new query edit, and update to, delete to, drop. You want to drop the table, you want to drop and create the table, you want to select the values from the table, you want to insert the values from the table, right? Or else, okay, before we proceed there, right, before we look at there, you just select edit top 200. See here you can enter the values here. This is manually you can enter it. Okay. Or else I am going to close this. When you select this one and when you go to script table as, insert into new query editor window. So this one will generate the insert into script automatically. This one generate the script automatically. So instead of using this one, what I am going to do is I am going to use insert into employee values. The employee ID is the integer data type, hence I am going to say 100. I am going to say the first name as Rajesh, the last name is insert into employee values. Okay. So after you typed in, you just press enter and type go. So now what I do is I select this batch here. I call this a batch because I typed go followed by the insert statement. Now you select these two things together and click execute. We will see what happens here. One row affected, one row got inserted successfully. See, this, if you do not know the syntax, you don't have to worry here. Okay, you don't have to memorize the syntax to insert the data into a table. Instead, you will just select the table name, right click on it and insert into option. When you select it, automatically generates the insert into value script. It is that much easier, right? And inserting the data insert the data into table is pretty easier using SQL Server Management Studio. So now we will go and see whether the value got stored or not. Now I want to view it. All I did was just right click on this, select top 1000 rows. Okay, so what happens here, automatically generated the query also. You don't have to write a select statement. Okay, if you are very adamant or if you are curious to know how to write a SQL query on my own, instead of allowing the studio to generate the SQL query, can't I write my own SQL query? Yes, you can write select star from employee. Okay, even you don't have to type the entire table name. It is that much developer friendly and user friendly. Anybody with basic programming knowledge, right, they can also learn the SQL query using the studio. Okay, look here, now select star from employee. I can see that whatever value I stored it, I can see it here. Got it? This is how you can insert it. So now the question is, okay, so now we know how to insert the data using command. Okay, how do I delete the records from the employee table? So delete from employee. If you give, what will happen? It's a delete. Let's see what happens now. So now if you look at here, you have execute button. You just type the SQL command here and go here and click execute. Look here, one row got affected. Now what I do is I just go ahead and type select star from employee, and I use the go. So batch. I'll type go just below this one. I'll see what is this go is going to do. Without go also you can execute it. Look here. So now no records are available because I use the delete command to remove the records from employee table. The records whatever inserted got removed from this table, got deleted from the employee table. Okay, we have another command. Okay, let me do one thing. I just go back and insert it once again. I just select this one, click execute, it got executed. Now I go ahead and click this one, the data got inserted again. Instead of using delete, we have another command called update employee. Let's say employee set salary is equivalent to, let's say I'm going to say, let's say he got a salary hike 65,000. He got salary hike 65,000 where the emp ID is equivalent to 100. Okay, so now I just go ahead and say, go ahead and click or execute. One row got affected. I just select this one. Look here, his salary got updated now 65,000. Alternatively, you can go here, and if you don't remember the syntax, don't worry. Just a script table as option you need to select in this one, in this menu, and then go to delete to, update to. Okay, when you select a new query editor window, it automatically generates the script for you. Okay, if you want to update more than one column, see here. So the update dbo.employee, your table name, set employee ID, and you see in my case I don't want to change the employee ID value. Okay, and if I want to rename the first name, right, so first name, in one single SQL statement, update statement, I can modify all the columns values. So even where search condition, where clause, using where clause, it's always a good practice, use where clause. Mistakenly or if you forget to include where clause, you are gone. Okay, we have to use where clause, especially because update is an expensive operation. I update and delete statements are very expensive statement. You need to be very cautious when you use update or delete. If you use delete from table, it will delete entire records. And we have another comment. So now you understood how to insert the data, how to create a table. Oh, I think yeah, I just closed that button, right? Yeah, I just, yeah, when you close it, I just clicked the cross, only then you should be able to enter the table name, right? When you do it, when you create a table using the GUI thing, right? You cannot see the SQL query window here like this. Okay, and also instead of doing it here, you can see something like new query in this menu. When you click on this, it will open a new script window. Here also you can SQL select star from employee. So you don't have to worry about the table name, everything. Even if you forget, Microsoft SQL Server helps us to remember the table name by displaying the table name which starts with EMP, right? So it provides the code completion facility. That is called code completion facility. For example, I don't have to type the entire table name. All I have to do is just type the few letters of the table name. When you type the few letters of the table name, it automatically helps us to understand the tables the table names which starts with M, right? All the tables which starts with M, it is displaying it here. So hence you can choose whichever table that you wanted, you can choose it here. Okay, so in my case, I'm going to select employee here, select execute. Fine. So this one, when you click close, you can save it, right? You can save it as a file, so that you can, once you save it, save this SQL queries later point in time, you can reuse it. You don't have to type the queries, or you can also use this as a reference in the past, what you did yesterday, what all the scripts I ran it, or what changes I made to the database or tables. By storing this, you can refer it back. Fine. So the next thing is, let's say I want to create the database using a command, right? So create database using a command. So create database is the reserved word or keyword. Using this keyword also you can create the database. For example, I'm going to create a database related to order. So order database. I'm going to execute this. So I'm getting some incorrect syntax near the word order, right? So, okay, order DB. Why I was getting the error? Your database name or table name should not be a keyword. Order is a keyword. That is the command. There's a built-in function called order that is available in Microsoft SQL Server. Look here, I just created order DB, but it is not visible here, right? So what I do is I just click on this refresh button. So let us do one thing. So here, database already exists. It got created it. Okay, let us do one thing. Here, I just select on this one second. Look here. After so 2 times I refresh it, right? And then only I can see the database which I created just now. So using command or the keyword create database, we can create the database. But if you use the reserved word, it will throw an error. Okay, don't use the, you need to follow the proper naming convention. Here, don't use the keyword. Okay, instead specify some other meaningful name. So this is how you can create the database. The next step is okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, or let's say I'm going to drop the database. I don't need the database. Drop database order DB. Either you can use the keyword to drop the database, or you can just go here and right click on it, script databases, drop to, and you have create to. Okay, drop and create, and you have something like create to. Let's see, when I select drop and create to, what happens here. If the database is already available, you drop it and then create the database. Look here, it automatically creates. Here what happens, use master go. By default, right, it uses master go, and then it creates the new database. It drops the database, and then it automatically generates the script for this, right? So on primary file name, you don't have to worry about all these things, because it's all database administrator's job. In real time, you don't have to create the database. As a developer, it is not our responsibility to create the database. But since you wanted to learn, in your laptop you can create a database, you can drop the database, whatever you want, you can do it. But in the real time scenario, we are not supposed to. First of all, we will not have access to drop or rename the database and all. Okay. So here you have something like order database and ANSI of a lot of options, right? So these are all, so only DBS, they use all these options. They will have the privilege to set all these, the ANSI type and all, okay? We don't have to worry about that. But if you know how to create the database, how to create the table, how to create the index, how to create views, that is more than sufficient. Because in Power BI, let's say your data is, let's say the customer data is stored in your SQL server, Microsoft SQL server. Using Power BI, you are connecting to SQL server. Okay, so in Power BI, we have an option called query folding option is available. Query fold. What is that? Query fold. Okay, if you wanted to do any transformation for the data or the table that you imported from SQL server to Power BI, right? So you will find, when you right click on the property, you will find something called query fold. When you select on it, it will show the query, SQL query. Okay, so if you want to do any transformation, for example, you don't want all the column to be imported from the table. For your report, let's say you want to create a report or generate a report, or you want to perform some kind of data analysis. For your data analysis, you don't need all the columns to be imported from the source table. Instead, what you can do is you can remove certain tables, right, from your SQL query, and then you can submit it. So what will happen in that case, right, that query will be pushed back. It's kind of a transformation. You don't want the columns that are not relevant to your data analysis. In that case, you can remove those columns in that SQL query, and then if you save it, what will happen, that query will be fired against your source system SQL server database, and then it will fetch the data. So in that case, some cases what will happen, because of the performance reasons, what we will do is, see, if the query folding option is not enabled, sometimes what will happen, due to some limitations in Power BI, the query fold option will not be enabled. So when it will not be enabled, supposing you are merging the column, let's say you imported the table from supply chain database into your Power BI. In that table, you want to merge two columns. When you merge the two columns, what will happen is the transformations or that query, right, whatever the column that you merged it in your source table, right, as part of your SQL query, that transformation will happen in your Power BI memory. That is very, very expensive process. Instead, what you do, right, you can create a view, or if you want to do some kind of, if you pose any performance issues, you should know how to write you should be familiar with aggregation, how to perform aggregation, how to use the aggregation function using select statement, right? So, and also joining more than one table. Sometimes we may have to join more than one table to perform aggregation. In that kind of situation, you can better write a query in SQL server, or you can use a view. You can create a view. So using a view, you can do pre-aggregation. So once you create a view, if that view does the pre-aggregation, and if you reuse the same same view in your Power BI, right, the performance will be faster. This is one way of overcoming the Power BI limitation. Instead of doing the transformation related to the database table inside your Power BI memory, it is always the best practice to allow the Power BI to push the source query to the source system database. In that case, the processing will happen, the data processing will happen in your source system SQL server itself. So in that case, the performance will be much faster due to some limitations in Power BI. So in that case, don't do merging in Power BI. Okay, so better you merge everything inside the SQL server, right? SQL server by writing a query, and then what you do is create some view or something like that. That view you can import it using your Power BI, so that the whatever the transformation that are required to develop your report, that one will be done at the source system itself in the source Microsoft SQL services, so that the performance will be much faster. Okay, so now you understood, right? So now you understood. So now you would have understood how to create the database using the keyword, how to create the table using the keyword, and how to insert the data into using a keyword, and also how to generate the script using the menu option here, right? So that's how you understand. And also delete command, and we have another command called truncate. Let me just go here. For example, in this case, let's say I have a retail database. Look here, I have two databases. I created two databases, retail order database and order database. Just now I created, I don't see any table here. In the HR database, we have created a table called employee, right? So employee, I created it here. So for example, I am going to create a table in my order database. So what I do is I am going to rely on the script, sorry, not here, and I just select the tables in my order database, and I am going to create a table here. For example, here order number, I am going to call as an integer, let's say integer, and it's a not null, and the next one is order date. It's a date data type. Okay, and you have date time is also available, or else you can use date time also, or in my case a date is enough, date data type. And order date should be non-null, it should not have any missing values or null values in it. And the next one is I'm going to say the customer ID, customer ID, it's let's say NCAR 10, and even this one is also a non-null, and I'm going to type the product ID or something like product ID. So here the product ID is, I'm going to use varchar of and I'm going to say unit price is a decimal. I'm going to say 10,0. So here unit price can also be null. Okay, let it be there. Product ID cannot be null, and here I'm going to say shipment date. Got it? So I just select this one and click yes. So here I'm going to say order detail. So now I just come here and I'm going to click on the refresh. Now we can see the order detail table which I created just now, right? Okay, so similarly you can right click on it, generate the insert script and insert the data into it. Okay, it's pretty simple. But here in this case, how we inserted the data, right? The same way you can do it here. You can also use, you don't have to generate the script, or you can generate the script if you are not familiar with the syntax or the keywords, and then you can modify the script and insert the values or specify the values that are that you need to store in your table manually. Okay, type it there and you can insert it. And other thing is, yeah, so now you learned how to create the table using keyword, everything, right? So now, instead of that, you can select new query. So there you can type all the queries, and then you can use all the keyword in the new query. Okay, so with this, and then when you click execute, the command will get executed. All right, so now I just go to the HR database, use HR database. Okay, and next go. So now I wanted to select the HR database. I want to go to the HR database and I wanted to select star from employee. When you click execute, the query is being executed. I should have associated this one. Okay, I'll just show you one second. The completion time, one query results. When you select this one, you can see the result here. Look here. So you can see the message. In case of any error, you can find it. Okay, look here. Previously, I tried to create the existing database, right? I created a new database with the existing database name. Hence, it was throwing an error. Okay. So previous error you can say. So now I can see the completion, right? So this one, the query, whatever I gave, right? So you have two tabs here. So with the results tab, you can see the queries output, and the messages you can find any error or any warning message, you can see it there. Okay. So now the question is, let's say I'm going to remove go here. If I select star from employee, if I just select this one, what will happen? Still I can see the output here, right? Still I can see the output here, but here I did not use go. Okay, so here the go is something like batch. Okay, so I can write, I can so this is one batch, right? So you can what do you say, code snippets, right? You can write multiple snippets of your code. And if you want to execute a specific batch, right, you can select it. Look here, in this case, I did not specify go here, right? So what happens in this case is, since I specified the go at the end of this one, MySQL server thinks that the batch continues till this one, right? Still, it will consider this one part of this one, right? So what will happen is, so look here, if I say, okay, let me do one thing. If I Okay, let's say here I select use if I select this one, executing query, let's wait for some time. Query completed with errors. Okay, so what is the error? What kind of error are we? Look here, cannot drop database because it's currently in use, right? The database is currently in use. We cannot drop this database. Okay, and select star from employee, go. So it considered these set of statements as a single batch. Okay, single batch. Hence we are not able. So here I use create database order DB and drop database, right? Use order DB, right? So already in the other window, right? I use the database, hence it is not closed. The database was not closed, because of which I was not able to delete it, right? I not able to drop it. So okay, I was about to explain the go command, right? So go command, without go command also I can execute the query. But if I wanted to write multiple, for example, select star from order DB, from order DB or order detail, right? So order detail. If I want to select star from order detail, and if I want to consider as a separate batch by batch also you can write this. See here I did not insert any data. Okay. So here I am getting the employee table, right? So invalid object name employee. So what happens here? Currently I am in which database? Order DB, right? So now I need to go to use the HR database. When I select, it is doing. So now if I do this, whatever, invalid order data. So in this case, what to do is use order DB. Sorry. So now I will see here. So select this database, because in this database I have an employee table. In this database I have order detail database. So if you are if you want to select the table from another database, right, you need to use this one. Okay. Okay. The next one is, do I need to select a different, let's say my tables, right? I want to join tables between two different database. How do I do that? That we will say it little later. So now I was trying to explain this. A truncate table. Apart from the delete from, we have something called truncate table. Look here. So if I select this one, I can see I can use delete table also. See what happens if I don't give go. What happens is, so this truncate along with truncate, this command will also get executed. I don't want that to happen, and I tell SQL, Microsoft SQL Server, hey, consider these two commands. So one batch, these two are separate batch. So at one go I execute only these commands, right? So we have something delete table. Using delete table employee, we can delete the records. By using delete table, you can delete specific records in your employee table. But when you use truncate table, it will remove the data or the records, entire records from your table once and for all. Okay. But in the case of truncate table, you cannot delete specific set of records. I will insert a few more records in the the employee table. Employee and values. Let's say the employee ID is 101 and Sridhar, and I say his last name is Manohar, and his department number is, let's say this guy is also belonging to the department number 10. His salary is, let's say, 70,000, something like that. I say go here. I click execute. So one record got inserted, and if I use select star from employee, yes, this record got inserted successfully into my table. The next step is, I don't let's I just want to remove Rajesh from this table. I want to remove the employee Rajesh related data or the record from my table. Only Rajesh related data I want to remove it, or the record that I want to remove it. Delete from employee table where EMP ID is equivalent to 100. and go. If I give this, execute, look here, only one row got affected. Now I just go and select this one, 101. Rajesh record got deleted. His employee ID was 100. I was able to delete specific record or specific set of records using delete command. Whereas when I use truncate, what will happen is it will truncate the entire table. You don't have an option to delete specific records using truncate table. But the issue with truncate, other issue with truncate table is it will permanently delete the records from your employee table. Entire table records will get deleted. Right? Sometimes you are using a temporary table. Let's say you are joining two different tables or multiple tables, and then you store the output in the temporary table. With that temporary table, you are going to you are going to use that temporary table to produce, you are using the temporary table to join with another set of SQL queries. With that, you want to produce another output. So in that case, the temporary table is an intermediate output. It stores the intermediate output. Once you get the result set, what you wanted, right? You can remove the temporary table. So for that, you can use truncate table. So you might be asking, I can use drop table, right? You can use drop table. If you are sure that temporary table is not at all required, you can use drop table. But in real time scenario, what will happen is we generate temporary table intentionally to schedule the ETL processes, the extract, transformation, loading process, right? So basically we do some kind of event driven scheduling. Okay, once the predecessor job gets succeeded, it will produce a temporary file. So once the temporary file is available or table is available, then kickstart the successor job. Anyhow, don't worry, I'll discuss in detail as part of the pipeline, okay, the release pipeline. As part of Power BI, we have something called deployment pipeline. As part of that, we will discuss about that. And also using Power Automate. How many of you are familiar with Power Automate? Using Power Automate, how to schedule the reports. Okay, so there are two things. One is refreshing the data refresh. Also you can do it with Power Automate. You can schedule the report also using Power Automate. But the advantage of Power Automate is fantastic. That we'll discuss it as part of Power BI. Okay, don't worry. So now you understood the difference between delete and truncate. Okay. You might be wondering, why should I learn delete, truncate? Because I'm going to work on Power BI. You said if I learn SQL statement, it is fine. See, sometimes you may have to be part of the release management team. Once you develop your report or dashboard, it has to be deployed on cloud, or it has to be deployed from development folder to test folder to the user acceptance folder, and finally it will get shipped to your production folder. So in that case, right, what will happen is you will keep changing the source system settings, and sometimes in the case of testing environment, right, you will have to test your data or report with different test case scenario. In that case, you may have to update the data, you may have to delete certain records to simulate certain scenarios. In that case, you should be knowing how to delete the specific records, how to truncate the table, temporary table. If you are using it, you can truncate it, and you should know how to insert it, right? Okay, so the next one is okay. Now let me do one thing. I'll just execute this one. Okay, so when I do truncate table employee, okay, I'll go ahead and insert it one more time. So 1 second, let me just insert another record. So I'm going to insert this record in my table. Okay, another record. Okay, so now we will see how the truncate works. When I execute this one, look here, now I go ahead and select this one, no records are available. So entire record got deleted. Okay, so what is the difference between delete and truncate? Using delete, you can delete specific records or specific set of records. Using truncate, you cannot delete specific set of records. It will truncate or delete the entire table data in one go. And other difference is delete command is pretty slow. That's why in the data warehouse environment, we don't use delete, we don't use update statement, because these two are expensive process. Don't get confused with data warehouse everything. Don't worry, okay? I'll explain everything as part of the Power BI session. I don't want you to overwhelmed by explaining all the concepts in a single session. All right? So guys, if you know how to create a table, how to insert the data, and how to delete the data, how to truncate the data, right? So that is fine. Truncate is a very dangerous command. Okay, it will remove the entire data once and for all. You cannot retrieve the data also. But when you use the delete command to delete the records, you can restore it later point in time. Though it's something like a recycle bin, right? So you can restore it back with the delete statement. Don't worry, in tomorrow's session I'll give you some assignments. You can also start work along with me so that you will be more comfortable with SQL queries, okay? SQL queries. Fine. So the CRUD operation, I mentioned about CRUD operation, CRUD, CRUD operation. So they use this term CRUD. CRUD is nothing but create, read, update, and delete. We have seen all these, how to create a table, how to create a database, how to read the data from a table, how to update the data in a table, and how to delete the records from the table. Tomorrow what we will do, see, I'm going to wrap up the session now. Since today being the first session for in this call, many non-IT people are there. So I don't want to cover so many things in one session. Today I will share the video. You can watch my today's video, and tomorrow what I will do is, we will go step by step with some assignments. You can also start practicing it along with me. Okay, and also we'll cover the advanced concepts, advanced topics as part of SQL. So like not only advanced topics, the data types, what are the data types that are available, and also we will see the constraints, right? Or the constraints, like what are the different, like check constraints and not null constraints, and how to define a primary key, how to primary key constraint, foreign key constraint. First of all, why we need to create constraints? Why we need to create constraints? How many of you are familiar with the RDBMS concepts? The constraints will allow you to store the meaningful data in your data set. Constraints will allow you to store the meaningful data in your data set. So it's something like GIGO. If you input the garbage in your data set, the output will also be garbage, right? So for example, you want to restrict some values to get into your price column, or you have something called discount column, right? In the discount column, those customers purchased more than 2 quantity for a specific category and specific product, they are eligible for so and so. So you can define the discount band by using check constraints, right? At the table level itself, you can at the table level, column level itself, you can set the constraints, check constraints, so that when the user when they enter the data, automatically it will in case of any violation, it will throw an error. Okay, that is one advantage. Check constraint, not null constraints, primary key constraints. First of all, what is primary key, what is unique constraint, and foreign key constraints, everything we'll discuss it in tomorrow's session. Okay, since today being a first session for many people, right, we will continue the rest of the topics tomorrow. So apart from the constraints and other things, we'll start with joins, how to perform joins, inner join, left outer join, right outer join, anti-join, okay, and then how to perform minus, how to use the minus operator, intersect operator, everything we'll discuss it in tomorrow's session. All right. So now we understood, right? So what is a database? Database, or what are the difference between database and tables? We use tables to store the data, and once you store the data, so whatever the, right, and the tables are stored under database, right? We can store data in a table, and the table in turn gets stored under the database, right? Database is like a container, so we can store one or more tables. You can store tables, you can store different objects like tables, views, and triggers, indexes, right? All these things you can store it in a database. Okay, so database can have a set of objects, and since it can have a set of objects, the tables are part of your database. Okay, you can have n number of database. Each database can have n number of tables, and indexes and other objects. You can also make it part of this, and also you can create stored procedures as part of SQL Server, right? Okay guys, any questions from your side? Anybody has any questions? Binay, any questions? Simon, Pramod, Swati, Vantoy, and Mastan. Fine, since you don't have any questions, right, we will circle back tomorrow same time. Tomorrow we will work on assignments, right? So I would suggest you all to start work along with me. Yes, you tell me. You have you have a question, right? Yes, tell me. Yes, we'll learn SQL first, then Power BI. Yes, because most of them in this batch are non-IT background. Yeah, books will share it to you, right? So in my website itself, we have some blogs are available. You can go through the blog and start practice it. And next Sunday, most likely, we'll start the Power BI session. Yes, Vanta, I will discuss it offline with you, okay? Fine, we will continue the session tomorrow same time, all right? Okay, good night.
Recording